Well, that was about as UFC Apex as it gets. Yes, I have a blue tongue. I ate my kid's ring pop. Shame on me. But UFC Vegas 100. It's about what you expect from a group of warehouse fights. Carlos Prates defeated Neil Magny. Not like it actually matters. And, you know, the event itself was like, we had some things we were looking forward to, and a lot of it's gone. I'm very skeptical on Carlos Prates. I am. I think he's a good fighter, but I don't know what his ceiling quite is. You know, he has a good win over Neil Magny. Li Jingliang, he beat, you know, he's got a bunch of knockouts in a row. But I just don't know how good he is. Before we get into this episode, please take a second to sign up to the membership. There we have a article just for exclusive premium members on Bo Nickel coming up. You get all of my videos to your inbox and all that. That's something you definitely want to do. The link, boom, in the description. Like, he was supposed to fight Randy Brown next month, or next week, on November 16th, on this upcoming UFC 309 card, or whatever number it is. He took the main event, which, more power to him. The Neil Magny fight is a much better fight. But looking at him fighting like Radke, Li Jingliang, and Neil Magny, I'm like, okay, he's good, but when you look at his intangibles, things that you know you can't quite put a game plan to and stuff, like, for example, I guess you could put a game plan to it, but like him getting backed against the cage the entire first round against Neil Magny was terrible. It was pushed back against the fence the entire first half of the round. Not a very good look when you fight somebody like Neil Magny. And Neil Magny, we know what Neil Magny's going to do. We know he just wants to make sure he's not getting leg kicked. And Carlos Prates didn't leg kick him. Like, I don't have UFC stats pulled up because, you know, I never do have what I need pulled up. But I'm willing to bet the numbers aren't very good. So let's take a look at the numbers. I got them right here, UFC stats. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think, like, look at that, 12 to 10 strikes was not much into it, but like, let's look at this. Prates threw 3 low kicks in the couple of seconds that they fought. Okay, so yeah, that explains a lot. And I get that they weren't fighting very long, I guess you could say, sure. But at the same time, like, the first thing you need to do when you're fighting Neil Magny is smash his legs to let him know, hey, it's going to be a terrible night. Prates didn't do that. Got pushed back because of that. You kick Neil Magny in the legs and he's going to be like, oh no, I don't want none of this. I'm not a real fighter, guys. Neil Magny's a real fighter, let's be real. But yeah, like, I don't know. Then he catches Neil Magny. He finally starts backing him up and hurting him. I'm like, great. Let's back Neil Magny up. Let's kick his freaking legs. Let's just do it one good, you know, just kick his legs. Didn't do it. Managed to catch him with a left that glanced and hit the temple, but, you know, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is letting it clean. He caught him with a clean shot. No, he has a lot of power. Carlos Prates has a lot of power. That said, I don't know. The look of Neil Magny pushing him back is just not a good sight for me. He's a good fighter, and I want to see him succeed. I really do. But, like, when I look at this division, he's welterweight, guys. He's welterweight. When you look at this division, Bilal Muhammad's your top. You got Usman, Sean Brady, Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns. All these guys are wrestlers. And if you're going to sit there and get pushed back to the fence, you're going to get wrestled to the ground. And I have a feeling that's where Carlos Prates is going to have a really hard time. That said, he has 11 straight KOs. You know, like, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, he knocked out Neil Magny in 5 minutes almost, 450. He knocked him out. Li Jingliang went to the second round. Charles Radke, you know, first round knockout. Trevin Giles, second round knockout. He's good. Contender Series, he had a second round knockout too. Head kick on the regional scene. More head kicks. You know, he's got the eye. He knows how to find the knockout. But you go back and you look when he fights, like in one championship, he's got that loss to Abdulaev. I didn't watch that fight, but I'd be interested to see. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Let's go back to the web real here quick. I did not know this happened right here. He fought Dave LeDuc Muay Thai in Thailand. That's kind of cool, guys. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I need to see more from him, and I need to see him vary his tools. He's got a lot of power, but you need to be able to set it up. And like, he just went out there and brawled. He throws a lot of punches like really wide and really over the top. I just need to see more. I think, you know, he's got a promising future. Top 6, top 8, maybe. I don't know if he'll be able to make it into the top of the division. So yeah, I hope Prates gets in with a wrestler. I really want to see what he can do with that. You know, there's a lot of that at welterweight, but I think he's going to get favorably matched up with a striker, somebody like MVP or somebody of that nature. That way he can kind of boost himself, for Neil Magny, you know, another one he can boost himself up to the rankings for. Now, Reinier De Ridder made his debut in the UFC. Now, if you're not familiar with the Dutch Knight, Reinier De Ridder is one of the brightest fighters that was outside of the UFC for a good long time. Like, he was a really good fighter for one championship, and you go look at his record and you can see like he was there for a long time. So let's take a look at his record real quick, because he was there for such a long time. He was such a dominant champion for so long that you thought, you know, Reinier De Ridder might be the best middleweight in the world. You know, him, you had Gegard Mousasi, Roberto Soldic, all three of those guys trained together. No. So he took the fight with UAE Wars. Let's go here. So look, EFC. So he comes to one championship at 2-0, and he just goes on this run. Aung Lan Song he defeats and takes the title, beats Abasov, Vitaly Bigdash, and then he decides to test his chance at heavyweight after winning 2 belts in middleweight and light heavyweight. Says, I'm going for 3 belts. I'm gonna beat Conor McGregor. Heavyweight's a different ball game, and Anatoly Malakin destroyed him. Then he took a grappling match with Tyrotola. Then Anatoly Malakin came down to light heavyweight and beat him up. Actually, side note, Anatoly Malakin lost to Rug this weekend, which is wild. But Reinier De Ridder got beat up in those 2 fights. Bad. That Tyrotola grappling match wasn't bad either. Now, he comes out and he won against Kasayev and UAE Warriors, yes, but at the end of the day, those Anatoly fights were brutal. Absolutely devastating. And you could see it here. Now, Gerald Meerschaert, GM3, he's not a heavy hitter. He's not going to hurt you. I promise, he's got the softest hands. We expected Reinier De Ridder to come out here and look fantastic because, you know, we've been wanting to see him in the UFC for so long. We've been wanting to see just how good he is. He looked dreadful. GM3 was tagging him on the feet. Just catching him. At the end of, what was it, round 2 or round 1, Reinier De Ridder managed to catch him with a right cross that, boom, snapped his head and had GM3 kind of backing up. But what really, like, he kept getting hit, and you could see, even though GM3 has the softest hands in the UFC, despite being a middleweight, he was like, oh no, I got hit in the face, I can't get hit in the face again, I might get knocked out. Dude, you're fighting Gerald Meerschaert. As much as I like him, you're fighting him. You know, he's going to sit you down and grapple with you, you know? But no, that's not what happened. Now, the scrambles in this were fantastic. I thought they were great. You know, GM3's great grappler. Reinier De Ridder's a really good grappler himself. And when we saw these types of scrambles, I'm like, that's what this fight should be right here. That's exactly what this fight should be. But it wasn't. As far as, like, Reinier De Ridder's ceiling, man, at this point in his career, how old is Reinier De Ridder? Because he's got to be up there now, like 34 years old. You know, as a middleweight, that's not terrible per se, but fighting like that, you fight like a Hamzat Chimaev, or heck, even like a Jared Cannonier, You know, like I'm looking at the middleweight rankings now. Shara Bullett's ranked. He's going to probably fight MVP next. You can put him against like Jack Hermanson, will be fun, but like Paulo Costa kills him. Roman Dolidze, that's a fun fight, I guess, if you're trying to put him top 15. Michelle Pereira just dogs him. Fluffy Hernandez dogs him. So I don't know, like, it might be a little too late in the game for Reinier De Ridder, but there's ways to match make him to where he can make his way up the top. You go ahead and book him versus Jack Hermanson, and then like against a that's about it. Maybe Brendan Allen, but Brendan Allen can kind of box a little bit, at least when compared to GM3. So I don't know. It's not good. Now Gaston Bolanos once went on Joe Rogan's podcast a long time ago, and they were talking about how he's going to MMA, he's going to be this great fighter, and he's a great Muay Thai fighter. Really good. Cut his teeth in lion fight. I made a video on him talking about the spinning back elbow is what we call it because it's so vicious. But when it comes to MMA, Gaston Bolanos just doesn't have it. He fought Cortavius Ramius. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of him before this fight, guys. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, boy, this could be bad because this guy might have wrestled with his buddy in the backyard at one point, because that's all it's going to take to beat Gaston Bolanos. Just wrestle a weekend in the backyard with your buddies and you can take him down. Or, like, Bolanos is going to have him a highlight reel finish here because this guy's going to try and strike with him. And to Cortavius' credit, he knew he had to go strike with this guy. So he wasn't trying to test himself against a Muay Thai champion, or at least lion fight champion, we'll call him. We're not going to call him a stadium champion. Really, I don't know his accolades all that much. But he grappled with him, and it looked like Gaston Bolanos is allergic to grappling because he had no EpiPen in his corner ready, and like he couldn't grapple. He just got taken down over and over again. And he did manage to, get out of the takedowns a couple times. But, like, so you can see he has 6 minutes and 13 seconds of control time. Gaston Bolanos had 4 minutes and 30 seconds of control time. Guys, that's over 10 minutes of control time. This was a boring fight. I mean, it was just terrible. Cortavius, he managed to get in the body triangle, and Bolanos has no idea what to do with the body triangle. You got the body triangle with a lock with your legs, and Bolanos is on the opposite side from where the lock is. You're supposed to put the lock on the ground and kind of wiggle your way out of there. He didn't know to do that. That's like day one grappling stuff. Even I know that, and I'm not a grappler. Or am I? I just don't know if Gaston Bolanos has what it takes to, be a good fighter in the UFC. Like, is he going to be a good fighter, or is he going to be a Muay Thai guy for the rest of his life? Because if he's a Muay Thai guy for the rest of his life, like, more credit to him. That's a hard sport to be good in, and when you got to specialize in a sport, I get it. But no, what he brought to the table, I couldn't get behind. Gillian Robertson, my girl Gillian Robertson, got another win. She's a treat to watch every single time she fights. She managed to go out there and get a decision victory. And what's crazy is Gillian Robertson has the most finishes in like women's history or something like that. She fought Luana Pinheiro, and it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that bad of a fight. Luana brought the fight to Gillian Robertson the entire time. Her striking was obviously better. Now, in her corner, Gillian Robertson's corner, that is Dean Thomas. And we know Dean Thomas is a great coach, and he's going to coach her up the right way. And what I thought was fantastic from Robertson is she's not looking to just go in there and strike with somebody. She doesn't want to hit you. She wants to strike, use her boxing to set up a takedown where she can get in on the legs. And she did that in the second round. Dean Thomas coached her up to say, hey, look, fish out the leg kick and then shoot. And she did that, and she got to the legs. I don't quite remember she got the takedown, but like that's the kind of stuff you can expect from Gillian Robertson. She managed to take her to the ground and control her for pretty much the whole time. Boom, elbows to the booty hole, baby. Gillian nailed her with that. Oh, speaking of elbows, we got to rewind for a second and talk about Gaston Bolanos. The 12-6 elbows are really changing. Like, you get a lot more opportunities in striking. For example, both Bolanos and Cortavius were like on their back, and Bolanos was fighting. Like Cortavius was on his back as Bolanos was laying back, and Bolanos starts boom, laying the 12-6 elbows. Like, yes, this is great. That's what I want. And you know, Gillian wanted those 12-6 elbows. Like, they kept calling, give him the John Jones. I was like, that's hilarious. That's great. I get it, and I love it. But, you know, I really, what I think stood out most to me about Gillian Robertson in this fight was the fact of her cage cutting. Normally in WMMA, you'll see them follow around. Ooh, we're going together. Oh, look, I'm chasing you. When Luan is going around the corner, Gillian's meeting her there like, hey, you can't, I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off. It's kind of like a wide receiver going, or a cornerback meeting up with a wide receiver, catching them at the angle you'll hear them talk about in football. It's the same thing in that. It's just you catching them at an angle, making sure they can't go. And Robertson kept her back to the cage the entire time. So it was really good to see her get a win. Back when I was doing interviews, I've always thought Gillian was, you know, super nice. She always gave me time to talk with her and stuff. So I always pull for her. I always pull for her when she fights because she's just a nice person and she's a fun fighter. She's not terrible at all. Let's see what else happened on this card. Not much that I care about. Mansour Al-Malik beat Dusko Tudorovic. Denise Gomez beat Karolina Kovacevic, which I know how to say that last name, which is crazy. Eliza Zaleski dos Santos defeat Zach Scroggin. Remember, Zaleski got that win over Benoit Saint-Denis. Charles Ratsky, the aforementioned Charles Ratsky, beat Schemmelsberger. Damon Blackshear defeat Cody Stamann. Treson Gore defeat Antonio Tricoli, and then Melissa Mullins defeated Claudia Segula. Look at these fizzled bouts. Mullins was supposed to fight Montserrat. Cody Garbrandt and Miles Johns was the original co-main event. Tercios versus Sopaj. That was a good fight. And then Nicholas Dalby was supposed to fight Zaleski. So, you know, the card itself kind of it exemplified what the Apex area is like. 'Cause the Apex area is just a terrible time for the UFC. I hate it. I wish it would go away. Now, Gaston Bolanos, I mentioned earlier that we did a video on Gaston Bolanos spinning back elbows. This is that video. It's a video that not many people watch because not many people know who Gaston Bolanos is, but we don't do stuff what people want here. We do stuff that I like to talk about. And this is an interesting look at how to use a spinning back elbow.